And now for my next number, I'd like to return to the classics.
To me, I only took one picture, and I'm nervous because I don't even know how the picture's gonna come out. But to the subject, to the person that was getting it, they felt like I was the paparazzi. They felt like they were a celebrity. It made them feel good for me to take photos of them. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a thing. That's an interesting story. The People's Paparazzi, it actually was birthed from me struggling to take photos in the club. Back in DC, when I was learning to use my camera, I was using a beginner camera, and I had the stock lens on it and everything, nothing crazy, no bells and whistles or anything like that. And when I tried to take photos, my camera, because it was so dark in the club, my camera couldn't grab the person, it couldn't grab the subject, so it had to flash a bunch of times just to grab the subject and focus on them. Then I could take the picture. So to me, I only took one picture, and I'm nervous because I don't even know how the picture's gonna come out. But to the subject, to the person that was getting it, they felt like I was the paparazzi. They felt like they were a celebrity, and it made them feel good for me to take photos of them. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is a thing. I can lean into this. And that's where that name came from. And I definitely try to emulate that and try to replicate that when I am shooting with the cameras that I have now. I'd say the toughest part of my journey was just keeping my head. I moved out to Houston, quit my job, moved out here. I saved up a bunch of money. I was optimistic, and I thought I'd be an entrepreneur. And about a month in, my camera got stolen. It was my fault. Left my car unlocked. It is what it is, right? But keeping your head and getting the courage to buy back the camera again, and to get back into the studio and starting to reach out to people and say, hey, I'm a photographer. Do you need anything? Just having the courage to be able to get back up and do that after you've made mistakes and after you were so unsuccessful the first time was incredibly challenging, right? I had no interest in buying that camera again when it first happened. I just accepted it as, this is my life and it is what it is. But I don't know, maybe it was the way I was raised. Something in me said, no, you're not just gonna give up like this. Like, this is something that you love to do. This is something that you built a brand on. Let's get back into it. Let's start it up again. Let's do it the right way. I met the right people, and they encouraged me, and they helped me, and they built me, and a lot of those people are still my greatest friends to this day. Due to my community and the values that were instilled in me when I was a young child, I was able to power through the tougher times and lean into my photography and get to where I am today. So I became an entrepreneur because I met one of my frat brothers in a very random place, and he and I became friends immediately, right? And he told me about real estate, and that was my first taste of entrepreneurship. I was going hard with real estate. I'd say I gave it about a year and a half of hard work, of studying, of driving for dollars and trying to figure things out and trying to learn real estate and trying to figure out contracts and this and that and this and that. And eventually, I realized it just wasn't for me. I didn't have the motivation, even if the money was good, I didn't have the motivation to make those phone calls and get up at 6 a.m. and go drive for dollars and look for houses that were beat up. It's just something about it wasn't super appealing to me. It didn't grip me. So I thought about my camera that I put down to pursue real estate. And I thought about how happy it made me. I thought about how happy it made the people that I was taking pictures of. And I said, this is fun, this is enjoyable. I'm gonna turn this into something. A pretty big mistake I made was everything that you see here. This photography studio was not on purpose. I didn't plan to have this photography studio with all this equipment in here and people renting it all the time. That was not the idea at all, right? Photographers, they dream of owning their own studio and having clients coming in and out of here and just being successful. And having a studio as a photographer is a sign of success. It's a sign of you're doing the right things. And I think I jumped the gun. I had met some people they were my friends, and they told me that they would be able to work with me and build a studio together. And eventually the partnership fell apart, right? And I was left with the lease. And just through sheer determination and willpower, I was able to still pick this thing back up and turn it into something profitable and have a fully built out studio where people can come and create to their heart's desire. And that's something I'm incredibly proud of, that I was able to keep my head through that tough time and fight through some of the negative thoughts that would come from a situation like that when you experience, kind of being all alone in a sense, and just deciding, no, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna win, I'm gonna succeed, I'm gonna fight through it. And that's what happened. Get a therapist. Go to therapy. Talk to somebody about what you're stressing about. Talk to somebody about how you're feeling and let it all out. I'd say that's something that I wish I did, was when I was going through the tough times, is had a therapist so that I could go to them maybe once a week or twice a week and say, hey, I got all this stuff going on. This is the worst, this sucks, I hate it. But you know what? Here's how I can fix it. Here's how I can do this. Here's how I can do this. And leave there with solutions to my problems, right? And that's the experience that I had with therapy when I was going to therapy. Is I went in with problems and I left with solutions. Like that's how powerful it is. Therapy turned me into a superhero, right? When it came to dealing with the daily troubles of life and your plans being absolutely obliterated at step one, right? It didn't matter to me because I had this mentality of, hey, it is what it is. Here's the situation. Let's go ahead and work through it and fix it and move on to the next step. And therapy is what got me there, essentially. And I know that might not be available to everyone. So if we're talking about another piece of advice for people that are in entrepreneurship and they want to really turn up the heat, give yourself grace. Give yourself grace and dedicate a little chunk of your time every day, right? If you do an hour a day, it might take you a while, but you'll get there eventually, right? Take the time to plan out what you want to do. Take the time to understand it. Take the time to study it and learn it and become absolutely lethal at what you do. That's what's most important. Becoming incredibly good at what you do, right? I know you want to make money. I know you want to get out your current situation, and I know that that's like the cloud that's over your head. But I mean, that's important, but it's not as important as being just ridiculously good at what you do. Like that is like the bottom line. If you can do that, then the money's gonna come, the clients are gonna come, people are gonna be banging down your door because you are so good at what you do. They don't want to go to anybody else. They have to go to you. They're gonna pay top dollar for it too.